My daughters told me that I was not their father, so I took away their business and stopped financing them. My name is Gerald Whitaker, a 54-year-old mechanical engineer who's dedicated nearly 3 decades to a manufacturing plant in the heart of Ohio. It's not glamorous work, but it's honest, and it provided a stable life for my family. I grew up in a modest household. My father toiled in the steel mills until they shut down in the 90s. We lost our home when I was 14, forcing us to move in with my grandparents. Despite the hardships, my father instilled in me the value of hard work and integrity. I carried those lessons into adulthood, especially after becoming a single parent to my 2 daughters, Clara and Lillian. Their mother, Margaret, left when Lillian was just 4, seeking to rediscover herself. Since then, it's been just the 3 of us. Balancing work and parenting was challenging. After my standard 50-hour workweeks, I took on additional consulting jobs and even taught night classes to ensure my daughters had every opportunity. Some weeks, I clocked in 80 to 90 hours. I remember falling asleep in my truck in the driveway, too exhausted to make it inside. My efforts paid off. Clara and Lillian attended prestigious universities, participated in study abroad programs, and had new cars when they turned 16. I wanted them to have the life I never did. However, things began to change when Margaret announced her engagement to a tech entrepreneur named Victor Langston. Suddenly, my daughters were enamored with Victor's lavish lifestyle, weekends at his lakefront mansion, shopping sprees, and tales of his business ventures. They started to distance themselves from me, both emotionally and physically. The turning point came one Sunday in October. I had prepared a special dinner, cooking all their favorite dishes from scratch. They arrived 2 hours late, dressed for a night out, and barely acknowledged the meal. Instead, they informed me that Victor intended to adopt them as adults, claiming it would simplify estate planning. They also dropped a bombshell. Margaret had told them I wasn't their biological father, asserting that a man named Jason, her former fitness instructor, held that title. I was stunned. I had undergone DNA testing during the custody proceedings, which confirmed my paternity. I retrieved the documents from my safe deposit box to reassure myself. The evidence was clear, I was their father. Feeling betrayed, I consulted my longtime friend and attorney, Frank Donovan. He was appalled by the situation and advised me to take legal action to protect my rights and reputation. We sent a cease and desist letter to Clara and Lillian, demanding they stop making false claims about my paternity. Their response came not from them, but from Victor's attorney, requesting that I cooperate with the transition of parental rights. It was clear that Victor's intentions were more about image and less about genuine care for my daughters. The situation escalated when Clara posted on social media about cutting toxic people from her life, implying that I was the source of toxicity. Friends and colleagues who knew me were shocked and supportive, but the damage was done. Victor even reached out to me directly, urging me to step aside and let him take over as the father figure. He boasted about the opportunities he could provide, like securing Clara an interview at a top fashion magazine. I responded firmly, demanding he provide DNA evidence or cease contact. Margaret also contacted me, pleading for me to let go and allow Victor to adopt the girls. She argued that it was in their best interest, given Victor's connections and wealth. I reminded her that I had been there for every scraped knee, every school project, every heartbreak while she had been absent. Realizing that this was more than just a family dispute, I enlisted the help of my friend Steve, a cybersecurity expert, and Ryan, a retired detective. Together, we began investigating Victor's background, suspecting that there was more to his story than met the eye. Steve and Ryan didn't take long. Within a week, they uncovered more about Victor Langston than I could have imagined. His revolutionary AI startup turned out to be little more than a slick website and a few staged videos. The so-called product? Just an interface over open source code. No patents. No functioning model. No team of engineers, just actors he hired when investors came to tour. He was under investigation by the FTC for securities fraud. His luxury home? Leased. The fleet of electric cars? All leased too, payments 3 months overdue. The yacht that Clara had once bragged about lounging on? Borrowed from an investor, one now preparing to sue him. But what chilled me the most wasn't the financial deception. It was why he wanted to adopt my daughters. Victor had rebranded himself as a family man to win the trust of conservative international investors. Middle Eastern financiers, particularly, preferred to invest in stable, traditional family setups. A single playboy wouldn't fly. So, 2 adult daughters, accomplished, elegant, and media-polished, were the ideal accessories to his scam. Clara's fashion career and Lillian's marketing background made them perfect ornaments. Their adoption wasn't about love. It was about leverage. He's using them like props, Ryan said bluntly. And they're too dazzled by the luxury to see it. I didn't confront them right away. Instead, I took quiet, deliberate action. Step 1, I canceled their phone plans. Still under my name, $240 a month. Step 2, removed them from all my credit cards. I'd noticed a few emergency charges like a $700 dinner and a $1,200 handbag. Step 3, changed all streaming service passwords. Netflix, Hulu, HBO Max petty? Maybe. But symbolically important. Step 4, called both their landlords. I was the guarantor. I informed them I would no longer be financially responsible. Step 5, called in the car loans. Their BMWs were still in my name, and I had been making the payments. Step 6, notified our health insurance provider. They were no longer dependents on my premium plan. Step 7, I sent each of them an itemized invoice. Every expense from the last 5 years: tuition, cars, travel, rent assistance. I'd kept every receipt and transfer record. The total came to $582,905.63. Step 8, I called both of their employers, just a quiet heads up about the fraud investigation tied to their prospective adoptive father. Nothing defamatory. Just facts and concern. Frank reviewed everything and gave me the green light. They've declared you're not their father, he said. You're under no obligation to support them. You've been more than fair. The response was swift and dramatic. Clara stormed into my office at work, mascara streaked and clearly shaken. How could you do this? She shouted. I missed 3 influencer calls because you cut my phone. I looked at her calmly. I'm sorry, do I know you? Dad, stop it. This isn't funny. I couldn't even get an Uber. According to you, I'm not your dad. I'm just some random man who happened to pay your bills for 28 years. She went pale. You're being cruel. No. I'm setting boundaries. Security had to escort her out when she wouldn't leave. My co-workers watched the scene, stunned. Many of them had seen Clara at company events, heard me talk about her dreams and achievements. Now, they were seeing the other side. That evening, Lillian came to my home. She wore a plain hoodie and jeans, no designer bags, no makeup. She looked tired, older. Daddy, we didn't mean it, she said softly. We were just exploring options. Options? I said, arms crossed. Including denying I'm your father? Victor said, it would help with taxes. He said you'd understand if you really loved us. Lillian, I said slowly, you have a business degree from a university I paid $200,000 for. You know that's nonsense. She stared at the floor. He said your background, your job, made us look low class. And you agreed. She nodded. We didn't mean to hurt you. But you did, I said. You chose someone else because he was rich and shiny. Please, she whispered. We can fix this. No. You can leave. And tell your sister you both have 30 days to return the cars or they'll be repossessed. She cried the whole way out. But I didn't feel pain. I felt clarity. The daughters I thought I raised, the little girls who ran into my arms when I came home from work, were gone. They'd been replaced by strangers chasing illusions. 2 weeks later, everything came crashing down. Victor's fraud case broke wide open. Headlines appeared on TechCrunch, The Wall Street Journal, even CNN. His arrest was broadcast live as agents raided his rented office. He was caught trying to destroy evidence. He looked smug until the cuffs clicked. Lisa, their mother, was caught trying to flee the mansion with suitcases full of designer clothes and $80,000 in cash. She got arrested, too. Turned out she'd been recruiting investors among her affluent friends. The FBI thanked me for my anonymous tips. I said I'd heard about the case online. Steve covered my tracks well. And just like that, the glamorous life Clara and Lillian had sold me out for vanished. I was in the garage with Tony, helping him replace the carburetor on his '68 Pontiac, when my phone buzzed. A message from Lillian. Can we talk? Please. We need help. I didn't answer right away. I waited 3 days. When I finally agreed to meet, they showed up together. No more luxury. No gloss. They wore old jackets, sneakers that had seen better days, and no trace of the elegance they once flaunted. Clara's voice cracked as soon as she said Dad. We made a mistake, she whispered. Several, I corrected, standing in my doorway, arms crossed. What do you need? Victor's gone. Mom's in serious trouble. The FBI froze our accounts, Lillian said quickly. We can't even pay for a lawyer. They think we're involved, Clara added. We spoke at a few investor meetings, helped make some introductions. Victor said it was legal. You moved money through your accounts, I said flatly. We didn't know, she said. We thought it was tax stuff. Normal business. But you knew you were lying about me. Clara nodded slowly. We knew. We were just caught up. Caught up? I asked, raising my eyebrows. You denied your father to impress a man you barely knew. Tears were falling freely now. Lillian reached into her bag and pulled out a small wooden figure of a father holding a child, something I'd carved for her when she was 8. She placed it gently on the step. I'm taking night classes at the community college, she said, barely audible. Paralegal program. I want to earn something for myself. I'm not here for apologies, I said. If you're looking for money, support, or protection, you won't find it here. You made your choice. We're sorry, Clara said again, eyes pleading. We were wrong. You'll have to live with it, I replied. Like I had to live with watching my daughters walk away from me. They stood in silence. Then slowly, they turned and left. I picked up the wooden figure. Looked at it for a moment. Then dropped it in the trash. Weeks passed. The case against Victor deepened. Former employees testified. Investors lined up with lawsuits. Media outlets published exposés. Turns out, Victor had changed his name from Greg Langley 10 years earlier after a similar scandal in Arizona. Lisa pled guilty. She cooperated with prosecutors and received a 5-year sentence. She called me one last time before sentencing. Mike. I was wrong. Everything. Can we talk? There's nothing left to say, I told her. You picked him. You helped him. I was trying to give the girls a better life. You already had one, I said. You just didn't want to work for it. Victor was sentenced to 15 years in a medium security prison. His fortune? Illusory. The investors? Furious. The house? Seized. The cars? Gone. And my daughters? Their employers cut ties almost immediately after the indictment. Clara's PR firm had no choice after clients refused to work with her. Lillian's marketing firm fired her following a board meeting where the CEO himself described the situation as damaging to the company's integrity. The influencer deals dried up. Their social media presence became a war zone of conflicting opinions. Supporters turned silent. Critics were vocal. Every post was dissected. Every lie, every half-truth called out. But I wasn't done. Frank filed the civil suit for the $582,905.63. They didn't respond, no legal representation, no counter. I won by default. Then I placed liens on their future earnings. For the next 20 years, 25% of their income would be garnished. They now live in a cramped studio apartment on the edge of town. Emma works at a clothing store, folding jeans for minimum wage. Lillian rings up customers at a cosmetics counter. The cars? Repossessed. The credit cards? Cancelled. The designer wardrobes? Sold online to cover rent. My friend Dave spotted Clara on the city bus. Said she saw him, then quickly turned away, pulling her hood over her head. She looked like a ghost, he said. I almost felt sorry for her. But then I remembered everything. I received $283 every 2 weeks from each of them. At this rate, they'll still be paying me back long after I'm gone. And I'm in excellent health. Last month, I took the trip I'd always dreamed of, riding my restored Harley along the Pacific Coast Highway. Just me, the bike, and the ocean breeze. Not once did I think about checking my phone. 3 months have passed since I rode that highway. Since the day I chose peace over pain. I didn't plan on writing the final chapter to this story, but as life often does, it showed me a path forward. One morning, I received a letter in the mail. Handwritten. The envelope was smudged, the handwriting shaky. It was from Clara. Dad. I don't expect you to forgive me. I've lost that right. I threw away your love for someone who promised everything and gave nothing. I know I can never make up for what I said, for what I did. But I need you to know, I see you now. I remember your hands rough, always stained with grease. You used those hands to carry us through every storm. To build our lives from nothing. I remember the night you stayed up fixing my science fair project when I accidentally broke it. I remember you sitting on the hard bleachers through hours of my dance rehearsals. I remember everything now. I lost it all. But the worst loss was you. If there's ever a way to come back, even if I have to work for the rest of my life to earn it, I will. Clara. I read it once. Then again. And then, without ceremony, I placed it in the fire pit in my backyard and watched it turn to ash. A few days later, Lillian left a small package in my mailbox. Inside was a note and a copy of her community college transcript. I've completed my first semester. I'm not asking for help. I'm not asking for a second chance. I just want you to know I finally understand who you were and what I gave up. You deserved better. You always did. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. Catherine, my sister, still insists I should forgive them. They're your children, she says. People make mistakes. Maybe so. But I'm not interested in hollow reunions or social media apologies. I'm not interested in reconnecting because they've lost everything and want comfort now. I'm interested in people who stand by you when things aren't easy. I'll never forget the sound of silence as they walked away that Sunday night, full of Victor's promises and dreams of red carpets. I'll never forget the look on their faces when they realized I was no longer going to save them. Tony put it best. Sometimes, the only way people learn is when they've got nothing left to lean on. You were their foundation. They tried to knock it down for a penthouse that didn't even exist. He was right. I don't miss them, not as they are now. I miss who they were. Or maybe who I thought they were. But I've moved on. I'm dating again. Her name's Marion. She's a nurse. Divorced. No kids. She appreciates the quiet things, Sunday coffee, evening walks, listening more than talking. We go fishing sometimes. She doesn't ask about my past unless I want to talk about it. I like that. Work has never been better. I was promoted to senior engineering manager, a $30,000 raise and more autonomy than ever. Funny how much clearer life becomes when you remove the noise. I've reconnected with old hobbies. Built a woodworking bench in my garage. Started helping out at a local youth tech workshop on weekends, teaching teens how machines work, how gears move, how things function. Things with real weight, real consequence. And I've made peace with my story. It's not one I would have chosen. But it's mine. And I've learned more about people and myself than I ever imagined I would. I don't know what the future holds. Maybe someday, they'll change. Maybe someday, we'll speak again. But if that day comes, it'll be on my terms. Not because they need something. But because they've finally earned the right to be heard. Until then, I have a bike to ride. A good woman by my side. And for the first time in a long time, nothing weighing me down. Thanks for listening. Gerald Whitaker. Thank you for watching the video. Like it if you watched the video to the end and don't forget to subscribe. Have a nice day.